we'll go ahead and look into what you guys are starting to get into in the comments a little bit, which is a potential roster, what this roster will look like come fall or getting into the spring ball, really. Just at a glance from what we know, both out of the transfer portal and then looking to into just everything we've seen in recruiting. So first, let's look at the offense here. Looking at quarterback. Again, February 10th is the big day. That's when we know about Joey Aguilar, if it's going to happen or not. Mark your calendars. But we'll see if it happens. If not, there is a plan in place where George McIntyre presumably will take over the role as your starting quarterback. If not him, it'll be Faison Brandon. Maybe those two battle it out in practice. Obviously, Josh Heupel has not made any kind of declaration about what Ryan Staub's status is on this team as a transfer. And I would assume, just looking at everything he's done and how he's been utilized in the past, you'd be looking at him more as a backup quarterback than you would a starter.
Yeah, I don't think Staub really has a chance at all of being Tennessee's starting quarterback. I mean, I could be proven wrong, but I mean, based on his statistics and how long he's played, I don't think he's going to be Tennessee's guy. I think he's just a serviceable backup. Just if chaos ensues and a couple of guys go down, then he would be a solid guy to at least, know the offense a little bit, be able to move things around. Maybe his experience would be able to carry him a little bit. But I mean, it's probably going to be George McIntyre's team. Like, I feel like by now we would have already known if Joey Aguilar was going to come back. I know the February 10th thing's going on. I mean, hopefully he can come back, because at this point I think he'll be Tennessee's best option moving forward, especially with everything he was able to do last year and the fact that he was playing with the tumor, which we still don't know which arm that was in. But I mean, if it was in his throwing arm, then I would like to think that he could be even better than he was last season. And I thought that he played pretty well. Like, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's second in single season passing yards in Tennessee history after last season. So I mean, that's definitely something you shouldn't scoff at. I mean, he's definitely got some talent, and I think that Joey Aguilar was a pretty good leader. But I feel like it's more than likely going to be George McIntyre moving forward. But who knows? I mean, every once in a while, there's a true freshman that comes out here and shocks the world. And I liked everything that I've seen from Faison Brandon. I just don't know if Josh Heupel is going to trust him yet to be the starting guy. I mean, because even when Nico came in, I mean, he started as a redshirt freshman, not as a true freshman. I mean, I know he played a little bit in the bowl game and played particularly well, but I would imagine that this is George McIntyre's team.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way, but you never know. It could get approved at this point. The Ole Miss folks are still holding out hope for Trinidad Chambliss, who's to say Tennessee shouldn't do the same. Interesting comment here from David. G-Max comp is Tyler Bray and Drew Lock, so I hope he puts up numbers like Lock. That would be fun, and that's a guy that Josh Heupel has coached, and Drew Lock as well. 2017 was a terrific year for him. 16, he was pretty good too. They just were not very good as a team that year. And then, of course, 18, he was good, but that was after Heupel had left for UCF at that point. And I agree with Michael here. If Aguilar comes back, expect the Tennessee stock to rise. I said last show, particularly if Aguilar comes back, buy stock in this team as a dark horse playoff contender if you do have that as your answer at quarterback. Because if so, I mean, you like what you have enough on the defensive end to where this team could really compete for something at the highest level of college football next season. So, and again, George McIntyre, you got to think about it too. We've talked about this in the show in the past where, Nico is a name that is blasphemous to Tennessee fan ears at this point, but he was okay that season, showed some signs of potential, but it's Heupel's only team that's gone to a college football playoff at this point is the one with a good defense and a so-so offense. I don't think the offense will be like that just with the proven receiver talent that you got, especially with Staley and Matthews to this point, but I think that's something you have to at least look forward to with the defense being as good as it is. And yeah, this could easily happen. he could throw for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. I don't know about 4,000 yards. I'll give you the 30 touchdowns. 4,000 is tough to hit. Like that's Drew Mestemaker at North Texas this year territory, and he was the leader in FBS pass yards by a wide margin. So, but no, it's at least fun to fantasize about what Tennessee could look like next season if Joey Aguilar were to come back. So that's quarterback. Again, we have all but one answer there. Moving over to running back, we know Deshaun Bishop is going to get the load. Javon Gordon figures to be your Star Thomas-esque back, at least this year. He could evolve into an even bigger role here in the future. Are we penciling in Dwan Morris as RB3, that other rotational running back that was kind of in the same role as Peyton Lewis this past season?
I think so. I mean, I think Morris is probably going to be the third guy. I mean, I liked what I saw from Javon Gordon, or at least statistically. Up here, I had it just a second ago. 500 rushing yards last season, and then like that was as a true freshman too. So I mean, he's going to have some time to develop and become an even better running back for Tennessee. Yeah, I think Morris is pretty likely to be the third guy on there. And the Deshaun Bishop, as long as he can stay healthy, I mean, he's going to be a pretty good running back for Tennessee. Yeah, and I've seen quite a bit of commenters about Justin Baker. And, you know, I haven't seen enough of him. I don't know. I mean, maybe he could be in there and have more reps than Morris. But, I mean, based on what I saw last season, it seems like Heupel favors Morris. But who knows? I mean, I don't think anyone expected Deshaun Bishop to be in the position that he is in now. I mean, considering that he was a walk-on and everything. So you never know. But, I mean, one thing I do know about Josh Heupel and his offenses is that running back play is always particularly good. I mean, you're not always going to have Dylan Sampson seasons. I mean, that's a rarity. I mean, it's the best rushing season that Tennessee's like ever had, arguably. But, I mean, Tennessee's probably going to be fine with whoever they roll out there, but it's definitely Bishop's going to get the bulk of the carries.
Interesting point for Michael here. I'm actually hoping the RB rotation is smaller next year. They rotated too much in 25. You could make a case for that. I think Star at the beginning of the season really came on strong, not as strong on the back half, obviously. Bishop was good there at the beginning, and then I think it was maybe the Mississippi State game and then definitely the Arkansas game where he really showed the rest of the league, hey, I can really tear it up here at Tennessee. So I like what you got at running back. Tennessee's going to be just fine there. They have been fine under Josh Heupel. Not something you got to worry about this year. So that's running back. Moving over to wide receiver. And I think this is the question we all have. Michael mentioned it earlier here in the comments. I think spring between Jackson Smith and Keys could be interesting. Is Keys good enough with just the intangibles, the raw talent, to force his way into the starting lineup over a Travis Smith or a Rodarius Jackson? Is it one of those situations where, you know, you got a guy that you're hitting 7th or 8th in your batting lineup, but he's just hitting the ball too well that he's forcing his way to the top? Is it something like that with Tristan Keys? I think that's one question that we're going to have answered come springtime.
I mean, I think Tristan Keys has got potential to be a star at Tennessee. And I mean, look at some of these other previous receivers at other schools, like Malachi Toney this season for Miami, spectacular wide receiver as a freshman. Jeremiah Smith, even Ryan Williams did good in his first year. I mean, I know Josh Heupel likes to favor the experienced guys, but I mean, you know, you're paying Tristan Keys a lot of money. Hopefully he doesn't get discouraged if he doesn't get many targets this season. But I mean, I think if Josh Heupel gives him the chance, then I think that he could be, honestly, Tennessee's probably their second best receiver on the team besides Braylon Staley. Because I mean, you know, Mike Matthews, he put up good stats, but I mean, there was several times throughout last season where he just dropped the ball in crucial moments. And I don't know if I don't think he has the best hands out of some of these other receivers on the rosters. He's very talented, don't get me wrong. Like, if you get the ball into Mike Matthews' hands, I think that he's very dangerous, but it's getting it to his hands that's kind of the issue at times. And I don't think Tristan Keys would have that much of an issue.
Yeah. Although you never know, Mike Matthews, very similar ranking to Tristan Keys and as far as a prospect. Now, again, I think drops are more of a mental thing than anything. It's just like, to a certain degree, kickers, just getting it figured out and getting in the right headspace to try and avoid those, I think, is the important part there. But I wonder at what point, like, if he gets that straightened out, he could be a stud receiver for this team. But I think right now your most dependable option, just from everything we know at this point, has to be Braylon Staley. Obviously, the stats speak for themselves from this season, but you just look at the production he had when guys were, or at least other teams were kind of staring at Brazel and making sure he didn't get touches. Matthews is more of an athlete than a receiver. I said if Tennessee didn't get another quarterback out of the transfer portal, run Mike Matthews as a Wildcat quarterback, just like Kentucky did with Len Bowden in 2019. No, you don't want to be doing that. But I get what you mean. Mike Matthews is definitely very much an athlete. I'd forgotten about this, potentially being a safety prospect. I don't think you'd do that now. But,
yeah, not anymore.
No, not now, but that's an interesting possibility to consider had he decided to go that route. But we see Matthews get involved with jet sweeps. I know you had the one against Florida where he ran it, I think, for a first down near the red zone down there sometime in the first half. So, you've got options at wide receiver. That's the good thing. You should not be concerned with the receiver depth on this team. I say that, and the last time we went into a season not concerned about wide receiver depth for Tennessee ended up being kind of a down year for them. That, of course, was 2024. But, again, that might have to do with the quarterback that shall not be named more than the wide receivers themselves. Tight end, we already talked about a little bit with the acquisition of Drake Martinez. Kind of feels like you got your four there, your four deep at least. With Ethan Davis, I would assume Deshaun Brame would be your second most reliable targets as a tight end. Martinez and Thomas, I think at this point, are better blocking options and guys you want to use in the heavy packages. But nonetheless, good additions for Tennessee.
Yeah, similar to running back, I feel like this one's pretty clear cut. I mean, Ethan Davis is definitely the best pass catcher, as I mentioned earlier. I mean, I really liked what he started doing down the stretch of last season. And, I think Brame, he's more than likely, I mean, I think it's pretty dead set that he's going to be Tennessee's number 2 guy. And then I would say that Trent Thomas is probably 3A and Menez is 3B. I mean, I could see them getting equal share of reps, more as blocking types. But, I mean, as far as that goes, I really like Trent Thomas's size a lot. And like I've heard and seen, he's a pretty good blocker too. So, I mean, I would like to think that he would have the nod over Martinez in that situation. But I mean, I expect Ethan Davis to have a pretty solid season this year. And then just think about it. I mean, maybe Mike Matthews can step up when you got Ethan Davis out there as a threat. Then you got potentially Tristan Keys and Braylon Staley out there. And then I think Radarius Jackson is underrated too. I mean, Tennessee could have a couple of guys that could, I mean, it could be similar to last season where you got like a couple of guys that go over 500 yards receiving. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee was able to repeat some of his success, but I think it depends on the quarterback play more than anything, because I think we know the talents of these pass catchers, but can the quarterback be able to deliver it? I think George McIntyre can. We know Joey Aguilar can. If Joey Aguilar is the guy, then I think Tennessee's going to be have a pretty terrific offense, to be honest.
Yeah, terrific offense to go along with what should be a good defense. Here's another name that has not appeared on the radar in a while. Cole Harrison at tight end must be an afterthought since they decided to get 2 Ts. I think the last sighting I had of Cole Harrison was one of those passes that George McIntyre threw in the New Mexico State game, I believe. I forget if it was the one where he just missed on the long ball or not. But Yeah, that's another guy that I've not heard much of. I remember because it's funny because Tennessee is bringing in another guy in Luka Wolf at tight end who was originally committed to Cal. Cole Harrison, I think, was either committed or was going to commit to Cal on signing day, and then he flipped to Tennessee in 2023. Yeah, it's crazy. We haven't even mentioned Cole Harrison in this conversation whatsoever. It's kind of wild that he's still there. One of those guys that you just tend to forget about after a while. And yes, good tight end, usually good for a young QB, and that's what we expect Ethan Davis to be. And here's the thing with Ethan Davis. He is somebody that this staff has been waiting to emerge as that primary threat at tight end. You weren't going to see him much in 2023 just because of what you had with Castles and why am I blanking on that guy's name? Jacob Warren.
Oh, yeah.
Jacob Warren were there at the time. And then, of course, the next year it was Kitzelman and Stays. Stays ends up transferring out because I think they just wanted to get Davis more touches, which I guess shout out Holden Stays for winning a national championship, even though he contributed far less for that team than he did at Tennessee. If championships are your goal, I guess that's a good thing. But if playing time is your goal and getting to the NFL, then I don't know if that was the best move. And then this year, Kitzelman ahead of Davis again. And I'm glad – and injuries, I think, forced the hand a little bit here, but I'm glad that Davis started to get some of those touches instead of Kitzelman.
Yeah, honestly, I think Kitzelman I was not a huge fan of him this season. Like I thought that he was going to be one of the best tight ends in the SEC coming into 2025. And I don't know, he inadvertently caused like 3 interceptions for Joey Aguilar, and it seemed like he was just dropping stuff left and right. I don't know what was going on with him. Maybe it was like what you mentioned with it being a mental game with some of these receivers. But Miles Kitzelman may have played his way out of like future NFL success the way that he performed this past season. And I think Ethan Davis is going to be a much better player for Tennessee than Kitzelman was.
All right, last thing on the offensive end, of course, is the offensive line. And for the most part, you're returning what you had there on the offensive line. So I'll take a stab at this right now. And again, this could change. But you've got Pendleton back, and he was your center for the majority of the season. Of course, you got Jesse Perry and Wendell Moy at guard in all likelihood. Tackle is where it gets interesting because you have David Sanders, who you are excited about this season, but, you know, at times was – a little bit up and down as a freshman. Just that Oklahoma game, he had the big blown assignments on that R. Mason Thomas scoop and score early on in that game. But looking at who else will be up front, do you pencil in Ori Williams at tackle? Do you go with Gabriel Ascenda there? I would say Ori Williams probably just because he's been in college before. Again, where does Donovan Haslam and Sham Umarov factor into all this stuff as potential depth pieces, maybe even starters? I mean, obviously the staff is high on Jesse Perry. This dude was a freshman All-American this year for a reason. And if Wendell Moy is healthier this season, then by all means, I think you got to stick him in there as well. So you have to like the state of this offensive line going into the season. I know the end of last season was not pretty in some games, particularly Oklahoma and Illinois, and I guess Alabama was another one to throw in that conversation as well. But you do have to like it going into this year, though, I think.
Yeah, I mean, around like I think like the first 7 games of the season, Tennessee had arguably one of the best offensive lines in the country. I mean, they were averaging like 2 tackles for loss and 1 sack per game. I mean, that is just probably the best performance I've ever seen from a Tennessee offensive line. But like you said, they kind of underperformed towards the end of the season, which was disappointing. But I mean, yeah, I think Tennessee's going to have just as much success, probably even more going into this season with I mean, I think David Sanders, a lot of his issues, just one, him just being like so young, and then like 2, because he was so young, I mean, he may not have the strength there yet to be able to hang with some of these other defensive linemen that are in the SEC. But I think David Sanders has got a good shot to be the starting left tackle. I think that they will move Jesse Perry into the inside, which I like that he's capable of playing multiple positions. And I don't know if Tennessee was just going to get Ori Williams just to sit on the bench. So I feel like he's going to be the other tackle there. I feel like center is pretty clear cut with Pendleton. I mean, Umarov can get reps on a couple positions on the offensive line, but I don't expect him to start. But I mean, who knows? I mean, I didn't think David Sanders was going to get as much playing time as he did this season. So, I mean, who's to say that Gabriel Ascenda doesn't get some reps too? I'd hope that's not the case because I kind of like offensive line being able to mesh together more with like some familiar faces. And the fact that 18-year-olds blocking now in college football, some of these players could be like 24, 25 years old, like grown men out there going against what was just a high schooler like a couple months prior. Makes me a little bit nervous, but I mean, I think David Sanders is going to pick it up significantly this year. And I think Wendell Moy is a really good player as well. And I think that he's got capabilities to be an all SEC player.
Yeah, I think Sanders is a little different than Ascenda because Sanders, you knew he was a 5-star. I mean, just overall one of the highest rated recruits in Tennessee football history, just at least in the history of recruiting rankings, recruiting services, all that fun stuff. But you look at Ascenda, he is a 5-star, but he's not quite that high, highly rated of a prospect as in comparison to what Sanders was. So I think that one was a more logical day one start than Ascenda would be. But I am interested to see how they would use Ascenda this year because you've got several guys coming into this team. I mean, that will be depth pieces. I know Nick Mora is another name that we've seen thrown around on this show before. So you're at the very least deep on the offensive line, and that's good news.